Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the news briefing this Wednesday, January 28th. Now, we all know that the Monterey County Free Libraries offer a wide range of programs and services. This week, the libraries are taking part in Every Story Counts, which is a statewide initiative to capture stories, photos, and data about how and why Californians use their local public libraries. Whether you've checked out books, or maybe you've even brought your child to a story time, used a computer, or even stopped by to ask a question, the libraries want to hear about your experience. So today we have our library director, Hillary Thayer from Monterey County Free Libraries. Thank you for being here, Hillary.
Thank you so much for inviting me to talk briefly about this really important survey. It is only going on this week, so I want to be sure that everybody, if you're going to get the word out, please get it out this week. After Saturday, the survey is closed. But this is really unusual for the whole state to do basically the same survey at the same time. And the goal is to capture statewide data so that then we can examine as the state of California where to best put library funding, library efforts. We also will get to know our own internal data. So we will be able to see just how Monterey County Free Library answers came in so that we can then compare ourselves and do some benchmarking for some of these questions. The survey is available online through a Survey Monkey, which is on the flyer here, a QR code, which is also on the flyer here and posted in all of our branches. Or you can come into any of our libraries anytime this week and fill out a paper survey. And we will help you. We have them translated into English and Spanish. The survey asks for no identifying personal information. And I know that that's becoming more and more a concern for people, that they don't want to give out personal information. We do not ask for any of that. Not your name, not your address, not your library card number. We do ask what branch you most use. That's it. So please come in and spread the word to have lots of participation in this survey so that we can use it to provide better and enhanced services across the county. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the survey and how we're implementing it across our libraries this week.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that information. So we'll definitely be sure to be posting this on our social media. You did mention this being a statewide effort, but I wanted to see if you'd be able to explain it a little bit how the community input will help at a local level.
Certainly. There's several layers that this community input is really, really, really valuable. At the local level, the library does have a strategic plan. It is on our website. It is from 2020. So we are now at the 5-year mark to evaluate our strategic plan. And the strategic plan outlines our priorities to serving the community. So it will inform the strategic plan. The second local benefit to having survey data is more and more funders for grants, donations, and other funding. They want to know that you have asked your community, you have worked with your community, and that you are asking for money to really put into effect things that your community will find as a priority for them. So the survey will help us in that way as well. We can really outline to say, here are some community thoughts, some needs, some feedback, some ways we can improve, some things we want to continue, and therefore we are helping these applications for funding be stronger with that community input. So those are two ways that it will really help us locally to get this data.
Great, thank you so much for explaining that. There was also part of this initiative was capturing photos and videos. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and how this week the libraries are capturing those videos and photos just so that residents can know what to expect?
Absolutely. There is the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And there are so many people that don't routinely come to their library for something like story time or to do a craft or to use a computer. So one of the efforts is to capture some photos and some videos to really show these important services in action. Now, I will say that we will never take your photo without your permission for publication purposes. So don't worry that you're going to come in and end up again on the state's website with your name and your address. For purposes like this, we would announce what we were doing and be sure people knew they were going to be in a picture. But the goal again is to collect that something like story time for young children can look different across the state because libraries look different across the state. But here are the goals that they are aiming to meet, and here's how well we're doing those goals. But again, don't feel like you're being surveilled by coming into your library, or we would snap a photo and it would end up in a magazine without your consent.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. And then I do have one last question. Will this survey, if someone hasn't visited the library in a while, is this still something that they can participate in? Will that information also be helpful if they're like, well, maybe I went like 2, 3 weeks ago, I just checked out a book, and they don't really see the importance of participating in the survey?
I absolutely. And we want participation. It is your library, whether you are visiting us or not. And we do want that participation because those questions we're asking help us improve. So if there's a reason people are not using their libraries, we want to know why not. Is it something we don't offer for you? Is our service not convenient for you? Is there something else we could do? Because it is everybody's library. So even if you haven't been in a library in 2 or 3 years, we want you to do this survey anyway. And that's part of why it's also online through SurveyMonkey.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to another question that just popped up is how long do you know how many questions or how long the survey is so that residents know, well, this is going to take maybe like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of my day.
It is about 10 questions, most of which are picking a ranking. So you're going to be asked a question like how the library helps you with, or what ways do you use your library to help with academic pursuits? And you can pick different answers, including not at all. So most of those questions are that you're just going to be checking check boxes. There are questions at the end where we ask you what you most use, most value about your libraries. And if something went away, what should go away? Those are narrative answer questions, and you can type or write in whatever language is comfortable for you. But most of it is checkbox questions. I would give yourself 10 minutes, maybe, to really think about it. But it is not a multi-part 58 question form survey at all.
Got it. That's important to know. Well, we have the flyer up on the screen, so we'll also be sure to share this. But really appreciate you being here today, Hillary, and for sharing this statewide effort and how the community can get involved. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much.
Now, the County of Monterey Health Department is hosting community workshops focused on preventing impaired driving among teens and young drivers. The workshop, Driving High is a DUI Choices and Conversations, is designed for teens and parents and focuses on the risks of driving under the influence of cannabis, as well as when cannabis is combined with alcohol. So today we have Vivian Ávila, Chronic Disease Prevention Coordinator with the County of Monterey Health Department, to share more details about this workshop. Thank you so much for being here, Vivian.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I do have the flyer. Can I share that so that we could take a look at it, or did you want to share it?
Yeah, if you can share it, that would be great.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, can you see it?
Okay, we see it now. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. So, yes, so this is a new workshop offering from the Cannabis Education Program out of the Health Department. This workshop is titled Driving High is a DUI, Choices and Conversations. It's intended for teens and their parents, and we're offering them at no cost. We are implementing them on a monthly basis from the months of January through June. So as you can see, the first date is crossed off because we just had our first session on January 20th. But the next session that is happening is on February 17th. And the purpose of this workshop is to prevent risky driving behaviors between or among teen and young adult drivers by equipping them them with knowledge about how cannabis affects their driving ability and that yes, they can get a DUI if they are using cannabis. Also, we know that based on California state law, it is illegal for them to be using at that age. And so there is absolutely no tolerance for them to be using and driving as well. And that is done through providing them with the opportunity to participate in interactive activities using fatal vision goggles and this interactive map that we have, as well as discussions between with us, but also with their parents. And so we really strongly encourage that for participants that are interested in coming to this workshop, that they really try to bring not only the parent but also have their child join, because a lot of the activities are designed to be conversations and dialogue between the parent and their child. It's intended to also be providing education in a non-judgmental and non-stigmatizing way, so that we're able to reach a diverse range of people across our community. Food and refreshments will be provided, and we're also offering them in English and Spanish. And so we don't have separate sessions that are offered in English versus Spanish. All of the sessions are going to be offered bilingual, unless we notice that for some reason, let's say that all the people that registered for one of the sessions, let's say they all speak Spanish, then we'll just move forward with providing the workshop in Spanish if that's something that the audience feels comfortable with. The dates for the April, May, and June sessions are not yet on this flyer. However, we will be providing them as we work out final details for those last sessions. What we do know is that the May and June sessions are going to be offered in Soledad. And so as you can see, the February and March dates are going to be offered at the Government Center, 1441 Chilling Place in Salinas. However, our May and June dates will be offered in Soledad at the Family Resource Center, because we're working with the school district there so that we can also offer this education and this opportunity to families in South County as well. And registration is also encouraged so that we have an estimate of how many people to expect at these workshops. Are there any questions? You're muted, so I can't, if there's any questions, I can't hear
Oh,
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do have a question, just so that the public knows, the sessions are they going to be different, or is it just going to be the same session, but it's provided at different times?
Yes, all the sessions are going to be the same. And so we do have different dates, but it's not intended to be a series. People are welcome to participate in multiple sessions if they would like to. For instance, at our first session, we did have a parent who did not come with their child, but expressed interest in wanting to participate again so that their team can also join for the following presentation.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's perfect. So we see the dates here, and then you did mention there's going to be a couple coming up in the following months. So we'll also be sure to share that information. For some families, they may say, well, I know for a fact that my teen is not a cannabis user. What would you say to families who may be unsure whether this workshop is for them?
Yeah, so we have data that we have a lot of data that basically states that it's even if they haven't used, that they're likely to have already been exposed to it at school. And we see that those rates of not only use but also exposure go up the older a child gets. And so, for instance, I don't remember the exact statistics off the top of my head, but this is something that we show to parents also when we provide education to them, is that starting in 8th grade, those rates are a lot lower, but there are still some youth that are using on a daily basis. We see that number increase, again, the older that the youth is, and so we tend to see the higher rates of usage and exposure in 12th grade. And that's also when they're starting to drive, potentially already driving. And so we want to ensure that even because it's likely that children are being exposed to it at school or by friends, that they know how to navigate those situations and have the skills to refuse or to get out of that situation and find creative ways to prevent that from happening, or even creative ways of saying no. So that's something that we also provide in the education, through the workshop. We also have parents practice how difficult those types of situations might be for youth as well, by having them step into their shoes and think about, well, what would I say if I were a youth in this situation? So that they realize that it's not always easy to say no, but what are some very specific phrases that we could use, and also how the parent could be a resource for them in those types of situations as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you mentioned, is that it's not just, for the teen themselves, but it could also be being exposed to if friends and information that they can use with their friends as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then because I do see that there was already a workshop that happened in January. So I'm wondering if you can share some of the feedback that you received from the participants back in that first session.
Yeah, so there was a lot of positive feedback. I think or something that I always think about when I do workshops is this too much information? Because I find that parents can sometimes get a little bit overwhelmed, especially because we provide background information on different cannabis products as well. Um, but what we gathered was that they felt like that information was necessary for them because it gives them the opportunity to have knowledge about cannabis in general. So then they feel comfortable having those conversations later on with their youth. That way there's this shared understanding between them as well. They also expressed positive feedback regarding the activities. So because we had activities that were meant to create dialogue, but also interactive activities. And that was a unique thing that a lot of them hadn't seen before.
Yeah, no, that's really important that you note that it's not just, sitting down and watching a presentation, but it's also these interactive activities. Well, I really appreciate you answering those questions and for being here today to share the information about this workshop and the importance of these conversations. And we will be sure to share this as well. So thank you so much for being here. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
And thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing this week. Our next briefing will be next week, and we will see you then.